Life is a journey of individual steps.
They are yours alone.
They put you on a path that is unique.
That molds and shapes you. A path that gives you your voice.
Your artistry. Your individuality. Your beliefs.
Your ability to do things no one else can do. We see those differences as opportunities.
Opportunities worth seeking.
Opportunities worth nurturing.
Opportunities worth protecting. What if all of us embrace the potential in each of us?
When we harness the power of our difference, we create lasting partnerships
that propel growth and reflect the diverse markets we serve.
Imagine how far we can go when we take that first step together.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning for our West Coast folks. My name is Lauren Schweppe. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm the Educational Initiatives Manager at NGLCC. We are so excited for today's presentation. Just some quick housekeeping. Please use the Q&A feature here on Zoom to ask questions for our presenters throughout. You can also use the chat function if you would like to submit questions that way. And our presenters will be available to answer those questions. So please utilize that function with any questions that may come up throughout. And I'm thrilled to introduce our co-founder and president, Justin Nelson, who is going to introduce our speakers for today. So Justin, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Lauren. Appreciate it and appreciate your work on behalf of the team. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. Just a quick thanks to Chris, Kelly, Melody, and Latasha, and all of your colleagues from UPS for the work that you do every day. I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you. UPS builds authentic partnerships, I think almost better than anyone that I know, and that is so important in trying times like those that we're in right now. I had commented before we went live here that just the care and time and energy that the team at UPS puts into its partnerships to make sure that they are a win-win partnership. There's not some lopsided expectation here, is just really incredible. And that's because of people. People make up organizations, people make up NGLCC, they make up our corporate partners, they make up your businesses. And we are just thrilled at the partnership that we have had now nearing a decade with UPS, and during these trying times to be looking out for the best interests of our business, to be collaborating with us on a grants program, to really be looking down the road to see that what we can collectively do to see that our LGBT business community doesn't just survive, but that we thrive coming out of COVID and looking toward a brighter future for all of us. So I just wanted to say thank you genuinely from me, from the organization, to our partners at UPS for your work and for the information you're going to share today on the grant and how our businesses can do work with you. So thank you very much. And it is my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce you to my friend, Chris Oswald, the Global Vice President of Supplier Diversity for UPS. Chris, take it away.
Thanks, Justin, and thanks, Lauren, and thanks to the whole NGLCC staff. They are great partners themselves. It makes it easy to work with a group of people when you have professionals who are forward thinking and flexible and willing to find creative ways to make a difference in the world and in all of our lives. So we very much value our work with the NGLCC and look forward to a long and growing prosperous relationship for all of us. So today, we really appreciate having this time that we can talk with you today on one of your Wednesday webinars, because we've been doing a lot of thinking about what UPS can do to elevate visibility and engagement with LGBT businesses. And so we've been doing some work we want to share with you today. I'm going to be joined a little bit later today by Kelly Street from our advertising group, Latasha Griffin and Melody Davidson from our supplier diversity group, as we tell you a little bit about what UPS is thinking and probably more importantly, what we're doing. And then of course, if there are some folks on the phone that we may be able to have a business relationship with, we're going to talk to you at the end a little bit about some of the things we're looking for in buying, and maybe we'll be able to make some connections as well. So I'm going to start off a little bit. If I think I can share my screen here. Yes, let me try to do that. I'm not sure, Lauren, if you, oh, here we go. I think I can share my screen. And tell you just a little bit about, now, of course, you all know UPS, you know the brown trucks, you see us all sorts of places. But we are more than the brown trucks you may see. Hopefully, we've been taking good care of you during this pandemic as we've all been home. But beyond that, we're one of the world's largest customs brokers. We are giant in international trade management and in helping people reach global markets. And of course, big in the freight space, as well as what we call the small package space as well, which means we are have coverage around the globe, over 500 million people. And it means we buy a lot. And when we spend our money, it can have an impact. So we are very deliberate and try to be very thoughtful in how and where we spend our money. So we have been engaged in a supplier diversity effort focused on finding opportunities for LGBT-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, et cetera, in our supply chain. And when you think about supporting a fleet as large as 127,000 vehicles and operating over 600 jet aircraft, creating the first drone airline, and even this year, which I'm so excited about, announcing our plans to purchase, get this, electric vertical takeoff and landing airplanes with a pilot in them and everything. So the future is phenomenal. The amount of technology and innovation and creativity that we need, the type of partners we need to engage with to staff our business, to keep our supply chains moving, to fulfill our customers' needs. It just continues to get more and more exciting, and we need better and better partners. So because of that, we've been very committed to supplier diversity. But to be honest, those of you who may be familiar with corporate efforts in the area of supplier diversity may be familiar with the fact that it's been sort of stagnant. To be honest, supplier diversity efforts in corporations started back in the late 60s as a result of civil unrest. But even today, only about 7% of business decision makers in the US are aware of what supplier diversity initiatives are, or if a corporation even has one. So it tells me it's been a secret tucked away in the drawer and not fully engaged and leveraged for the benefit of diverse-owned businesses and for corporations. And we're on a mission to change that. So for us, we've had a growing understanding over the last few years that supplier diversity can have a direct and controllable impact on equity and inclusion for a lot of reasons, but chiefly among those, diverse businesses tend to hire and invest in diverse communities. And that breeds innovation, it breeds creativity, it breeds economic inclusion, which creates a pathway for growth for all of us. So it's important that we think about building inclusive supply chains beyond just the value of great suppliers, which are still fantastic, but the value to a corporation can be so much larger. So I want to take just a minute and just tell you a little bit about how we think about that value. Now, UPS, obviously, LGBT-owned businesses can be great suppliers. In fact, Hootology is a market research firm, LGBT-owned and GLCC certified market research firm that gave us that data about supplier diversity awareness, and a fantastic partner of ours. And they've helped us understand that the value of supplier diversity is so much bigger than simply the individual contract with a business. And if we've come to understand that the purpose of a corporation has to be bigger than making money for shareholders. A couple of years ago, you're probably aware, the Business Roundtable came out and said, the purpose of a corporation is changing. For a corporation to be successful in the long term, you have to serve the interests of your employees, your customers, your suppliers, and your communities, as well as your share owners. And if you don't think about your future holistically, you're not going to be ensuring long-term growth and sustainability. I mean, the truth is we need a marketplace to buy our services long-term. We need talent pools of innovative, diverse talent to come work at UPS in the future. We need supply chains that are resilient and can withstand pandemics and other challenges that will face us in the future. And all of that means we have to take a bigger, broader picture about economic inclusion and what success really looks like. And because of that, there is an amazing growth in UPS and other corporations as well of recognizing the value of elevating and engaging diverse businesses, LGBTQ businesses among them. It is an economic decision. It's a planning, forward-thinking decision. It's an innovation-related decision. The benefits just compound. And because of that, we're thinking of all sorts of new ways on how do we ensure our mutual success. And I want to invite Kelly Street to join me and take over some of the conversation for a minute and tell you a little bit about our Proudly Unstoppable campaign that she's been developing as we think of additional ways to highlight, elevate, and engage LGBT-owned businesses.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. Next slide, please. 2020 was a challenging year for all of us. It was especially hard on small businesses, and minority-owned small businesses were disproportionately hard hit. In fact, over 70% of Black-owned small businesses reported financial distress, and many are in danger of closing their doors permanently. Proudly Unstoppable was born out of our desire to uplift and shine a spotlight on minority-owned small businesses who are so vital to their communities and to our economy. We launched our first Proudly Unstoppable effort in February during Black History Month to shine a spotlight on Black-owned small businesses. The program featured the custom design artwork you see below here on the screen entitled Let's Rise Together, designed by Black artist and small business owner Sophia Yeshi. The artwork was also featured throughout our program and on one of our most visible assets, our express packaging. Our program also featured a steady stream of social content that amplified authentic Black voices and Black-owned small businesses across our own channels, and also included a financial commitment to distressed Black-owned small businesses in partnership with a nonprofit, the 30-Day Fund, that provided forgivable microloans to businesses struggling during the pandemic. And so Proudly Unstoppable is really a multi-year, multi-program effort that as we move forward, will have three foundational pillars. One, custom design artwork by minority artists featured on one of our most visible assets, our express packaging. Two, amplification of minority-owned voices and small businesses across our own social channels. And finally, a financial commitment to provide meaningful impact to financially distressed minority-owned businesses. Next slide, please. And this is how Proudly Unstoppable showed up in the world throughout the month of February. We were very excited to shine a spotlight on a few of the microloan recipients that received financial assistance via the 30-Day Fund, like Karen Flowers, who received a microloan. She owns a salon in Virginia, and we were able to showcase her business on our own channels. We also spotlighted Black-owned small businesses like Essie Spice and the owner, Essie Bartles. We were delighted to share and amplify the voice of Sophia Yeshi, the artist who designed the custom artwork that was featured on our packaging and throughout our program. We partnered with an influencer, Elaine Welterworth, who's an advocate of Black-owned small businesses and a co-host of The Talk. And we had support through every level of our organization, including the executive level, where our CEO, Carol Tomei, and our CMO, Kevin Warren, posted about the importance on LinkedIn of this program and supporting Black-owned small businesses. Next slide, please. And so, as I mentioned, this is Proudly Unstoppable is a multi-year, multi-program effort, and we are very excited today to share an exclusive sneak peek of the program that's launching on June 3rd during Pride Month. It's our LGBTQ+ owned Proudly Unstoppable effort. This is unprecedented. We don't typically share program details or content before the actual program is live, but we did want to be able to share it with all of you today. Next slide, please. And so this is the artwork that will be featured throughout the program and on our express packaging. It's entitled Love Delivered, and it was designed by Fernando Togni, who is a very talented illustrator who you see here, a native Brazilian currently residing in East London, and a member of the LGBTQ+ community. This artwork was beautifully done. It's so bright and vivid. It's just a burst of joy. And honestly, it's very artful storytelling. He did an amazing job of being inclusive to the LGBTQ+ community, which is very important to us, and also telling a small business and e-commerce story at the same time, with the graphical product elements shown and icons, as well as a laptop and a device to show that e-commerce story. And it translated beautifully to our express packaging, which is on the next slide. Next slide, please. This artwork will be featured on our express packaging, including our express envelope and our UPS store envelope featured here. The UPS store has been an integral partner and champion of Proudly Unstoppable from the beginning, and this envelope will be available to UPS store franchisee owners through their network. Our express envelope here will be featured throughout our program and will be available on our landing page, and I'll share a few details about that in just a moment. But we're very excited to produce a limited edition run of 150,000 express envelopes and 50,000 UPS store envelopes. The title of the artwork and a brief description will be featured on both envelopes, and the QR code you see here will be featured on the express envelope and drive to our dedicated landing page. Next slide, please. Our dedicated landing page, which will go live on June 3rd at the launch of our program, can be found at ups.com/proudlyunstoppable. And this will house all of the program details, including information on how to order the envelope. And this envelope will be available to anyone who wants to order it and support the program. You don't have to be a UPS customer. And that was something that was very important to us, to make sure that anyone who wanted to be able to support the program and order the envelope could do so. So all the program details about Proudly Unstoppable will be featured on this landing page. We'll also drive awareness to the issues facing LGBTQ+ owned small businesses. There'll be information about the artists, and more importantly, there'll be information about our partnership with the NGLCC and all the great work they're doing to really uplift LGBTE owned businesses, and also certifying those businesses, which gives them an amazing opportunity to more corporate resources and sponsorships. We're also going to uplift and shine a spotlight on LGBT+ owned businesses via our landing page. And we'll also share a little bit about our commitment to equity and social justice. And finally, we'll share details about our financial commitment and partnership with the NGLCC. Next slide, please. We are very excited, in partnership with the NGLCC, to provide 13 grants to distressed LGBTE certified businesses, which will equal 10 businesses will receive $5,000 and 3 businesses will receive $10,000 based on need. The registration is open right now, and I believe Greg is going to include the registration link in the chat. But we encourage any business that's financially distressed or in need of assistance to please apply. If you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the chat. And the deadline is Monday, May 17th. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Back to you, Chris.
Excellent, Kelly. Thank you. Thank you. Just email corporaterelations@nglcc.org for more information. You know, we wanted to share that with you. One is because it is at UPS, and I've been at UPS 31 years, to see us taking the steps, a big step for us. And this Proudly Unstoppable campaign, of course, has legs inside our organization as well as outside our organization. And it certainly makes me a proud partner of the company to be a part of it, and to be able to share it with you all early is something special. But I also wanted to highlight that, you know, being a part of a campaign like that and a grant system like that requires certification. And so I want to take a few minutes and tell you why it's so valuable for many chamber members to actually pursue their LGBTQ business certification. And so I want to shift to that for a little bit. But first start with, sort of what's happening at corporations that makes this so important, because as I said before, there's some major shifts going on. Supplier diversity has been a little stagnant because we've had a small pool of certified businesses to work with. There are over 1,600 certified businesses, LGBT-owned businesses, through the NGLCC, that's been growing, which is great, but it is a fraction of the businesses out there that we want to know about and we want to work with. And so we really want to encourage you as we talk today and you see what some of these opportunities might be. If you have not explored certification, really think about it, because corporations are getting more and more involved, and I think the opportunities will only grow. We're seeing things like within our organization, improved connections with our buyers and our stakeholders, which means we have folks in our automotive group and in our plant engineering folks and in our marketing departments, people like Kelly, right, who are actively looking for diverse businesses to work with as they put campaigns together like Proudly Unstoppable, or as we shift towards our drone airline or alternative fuel vehicles. And the greater that engagement spreads throughout a corporation, the more qualified businesses we're going to be out there looking for. And the way we find you is through your certification. If you're not aware, the NGLCC offers an engagement center for partner corporations like UPS to use. So when we have a particular need, let's say for someone who can manufacture a certain type of fuel part or conveyor system or provide security services, we reach out to the engagement center at the NGLCC, and they look among those certified businesses and kick back to us qualified businesses who we might want to include in our RFP process. So being a part of that network is where those opportunities start to explore. And companies like UPS are really thinking about this from an impact standpoint. It's no longer a matter of just doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's because we know that the value it brings is outsized compared to the effort that it takes to go out and seek diverse businesses. And as corporations continue to transform, that momentum around seeking certified diverse businesses is only going to grow. So here's the nuts and bolts of it. Once you have, if you're thinking about how you might leverage the supplier diversity channel for growth, step number one for sure is to determine if selling to a corporation or a government is something that's part of your growth strategy for your business. Now, admittedly, if you own a restaurant, then I want to come eat at your restaurant, but maybe selling to a corporation isn't part of your growth strategy. But in many other fields, corporate clients and government clients could be very, very lucrative. So think about it. Think about it strategically, right? Is that the type of client you want? Is that the way you want to grow? And if it is, then certification is a path to access those governments and those corporations. If your business qualifies as small via the Small Business Administration's guidelines, many corporations like UPS and of course governments are seeking to do business with small businesses as well. So if you have an LGBT certification and you qualify as small, in many of our programs, you tick both the boxes, makes you an even more attractive supplier to bring into our network. And if you're not aware of it, the NGLCC has been really doing some fantastic work lately on expanding the network of public sector organizations and governments that recognize the LGBTQE certification. All those cities you see listed and boxed in white recognize the LGBT certification and are seeking LGBT suppliers as part of their supply chain. And those in light blue are in progress. They're working on it. And when I think about this map 2 years ago and what it is today, it's moving quickly. And certainly I think the way we're going to see more and more organizations move forward. So as I mentioned, all it really takes, it's a little bit of an effort, but if you're 51% owned, managed, and controlled by a member of the LGBT community, then, and you think that growing through government contracts or corporate contracts is part of your growth strategy, I highly encourage you to pursue it. Once you have that certification, opportunities are unlocked. And it can be pretty impressive. The number of mentorship programs, scholarships to executive education programs at places like Dartmouth and Northwestern University and the University of Washington and other partner organizations that we work with that we will scholarship our diverse suppliers to attend. The investment that corporations like UPS will put into diverse companies to help them grow and scale, when you have the right partnership, the sky can really be the limit in terms of what's possible. But it's finding that right connection, and that certification opens the door to begin to explore those opportunities. The number of local events, corporate events, national events to build your network is impressive. And once you start the ball rolling and you get a contract with a corporation, a lot of us work through word of mouth. We start hearing about a new supplier that's delivering and being successful, and the momentum can build. You know, it's not automatic, and it has to be the right fit. It's not for everyone. But if it's on a growth plan for your organization, it is absolutely, in my opinion, worth the effort. And then, of course, you've got the NGLCC and the local chambers, right, who will support you and developing your pitch and competitions and grant access like we have here with UPS, as well as people like supplier diversity teams who will sit down with you one-on-one and coach you through RFP responses and how to be effective, and you know what's going to be an effective way to quote your pricing or your timing or describe your capabilities. You know, what's possible is pretty amazing in terms of support, and certification unlocks that door. So let's take a few minutes and tell you a little bit about how you can work with UPS. And I'm going to invite two of our UPS supplier diversity managers, Latasha Griffin and Melody Davidson, to take you through how to work with UPS. But when you hear them tell the story, know that there are about 314 corporate partners of the NGLCC. And I'd venture to say almost all of us have a fairly similar process for how to get started. So this is a sampling of what certification can open up. So Latasha, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Chris. So yeah, I'm really excited to be able to tell a little bit around how to work with UPS, but then also, as Chris mentioned, think about these things whenever you're trying to engage with a large corporation, right? Because a lot of us, to Chris's point, have a similar process, right, on how we engage with suppliers. But these are some things that I like to tell suppliers that may get overlooked sometimes when you're trying to work with large corporations. And so right off the bat, do your research, learn about our company, learn if your product or your service is even a good fit for what we buy and what we need to run our business, right? And you can do that in a number of ways. There's a whole litany of public information out there that you could leverage, right? You can listen to our earnings calls. You can look at our financial statements. You can look at our corporate blog, which is called UPS Stories, and look at our Twitter page. And there's where you can find what is wildly important to UPS, what we're doing to move our company into the future, and how you might be able to fit into that process somehow. Also, be patient. I know that a lot of times suppliers are having conversations and meetings with supplier diversity professionals. And sometimes they feel like, where's this going? Nothing's happening fast enough. But you have to think that large companies are going to buy on their timeline, not necessarily because there's been some engagement between you and that supplier diversity professional. And we have a lot of suppliers who want to work with us too, right? So just be patient and know that sometimes that we don't have an opportunity right then. We have incumbents who we're already working with who might have long contracts. So it may take some time for us to find that right fit where your company might benefit in being a part of that conversation. But that doesn't mean be inactive, right? In that time, you should be trying to build a relationship with the supplier diversity professional that you're connected to, so that when that opportunity does materialize, they can put you in front of the right decision makers to be visible, to be heard, and to have an opportunity to bid, right? So definitely be patient, but take that time to build a solid relationship. Another consideration is corporations buy based on value, right? We're always going to make the best decision for us based on the full value that's being offered from the suppliers who bid in our competitive bids. sometimes I will notice that a lot of suppliers work with government agencies, and government agencies will often have, those budgets that are earmarked specifically to work with smaller, diverse businesses. And most of the time, a company our size is not going to have earmarked dollars. We'll have goals, we'll have, accountability around those goals, the whole thing. But we're going to buy based on what makes sense for our value needs, right? And so make sure that, you're cognizant of that. And the next thing that I want to say is that value doesn't always mean lowest price, right? So let's not get that confused where price equals value, because for us, there's value in the entire package, right? So if you think about the total cost of ownership of a category of spend for us, we're looking at what is the cost of implementation for that new product? What is the reliability of our suppliers' supply chain? Are you vertically integrated? How long is it going to take to roll out this project, right? The speed of implementation. So these are all things that we're considering when we're working with the supplier. And these are all things you should be, proactively offering as you engage with the category managers, as you engage with the people involved with that competitive bid, to let them know, hey, I provide value in all these other ways, not just on price, so that we have a more holistic view of your total value proposition to the company. And so those are just some considerations that I like to tell suppliers to think about as they're engaging with a large corporation. I think Melody is going to go and on the next slide and give you a little bit more info on how to work with us. Mel, you're on mute.
Sorry, I forgot about that. Thanks so much, Latasha, for that information. So as she said before, most corporations will have a website for their supplier diversity, and here's ours. It's on the screen, the actual link. And so on this website, you'll be able to learn lots of information about diverse certifications, and a list of any of the certifying agencies and members that we accept certifications from. It also will have, here you see 3 steps here on things you can do. 1, to get certified. The step 2 is our online portal, supplier portal, where you can register with UPS so that we have visibility and our buyers have visibility to your company. And then the step 3 is actually our third-party portal, but that is where you can upload your any certificates or diverse certifications that you have. You can upload on the step number 3. So this site will help you, with information, and it gives other information as well about how UPS offers opportunities for small businesses to help, solutions to help small businesses. So there's a wealth of information on this site, and I would, welcome that you please go and look at it, and also how to get in touch with us is in our group as well. Okay, Latasha, next slide.
All right, and then to Melody's point, as we're looking at specific opportunities, we're accessing that supplier portal, right, where we can go in every time there's an opportunity that's out there or that's coming up. We can go and access that portal to see, who is in our portal registered that already has, their capability statement that fits those, planned opportunities. And so, just thinking about next steps, and for everyone on the call who wants to think about like how they can really, take it to the next step with UPS. So just know that sometimes when we engage with suppliers, it's because we have a very narrow, specific opportunity that we're trying to find a supplier for, right? We have visibility into planned opportunities, 6 months out at a time to know, okay, there's this opportunity coming down the pipeline. Let's check our SLM, our supplier portal. and figure out who's in there. Let's work with the NGLCC or other agencies to find suppliers for specific opportunities. So sometimes that's what's the outcome of an engagement point with us. Sometimes when you speak with us, we're really trying to develop a source list in a category where maybe we don't have enough diverse representation. And so, in those categories where we recognize there's a lack of diversity, and especially in the categories where we know there's a lot of diversity to be had, we're continuously trying to develop a source list and learn about businesses, learn about your capabilities, so that when those opportunities do manifest in the future, that we already have you in mind, you're already in our portal, right? And we can quickly get to you, when that time is right. And then sometimes when we engage with suppliers, we do realize that it's just not a good fit. I like to tell this story about a supplier that I met once at a supplier engagement meeting, and she sold the most amazing, awesome hot sauce. Amazing hot sauce, delicious hot sauce. But UPS doesn't buy hot sauce. Right? We've got, cafeteria providers who manage that, or vending providers who manage, food service for us. And so the thing that I like to tell suppliers is that, figure out where you want to focus your time. Is UPS a good prospect for a company that sells hot sauce? Probably not. But what we try to do is give those good suggestions back to the suppliers to say, hey, listen, the good or service that you have is not something that we purchase, but you should be thinking about talking with this company, or, maybe this company would be looking for your goods or services. Have you thought about engaging with them, especially the ones who are involved in the supplier diversity network? So to Chris's point, we all kind of have these conversations with each other about other corporates about suppliers that are great fits for what we do and what we're looking for. So we do try to share that information when it comes around. So just think about whether you fit into a specific opportunity, or if we just are needing to get to know your business for future opportunities, or if there's just not a good fit. We try to tell you that so that everybody has expectations that are kind of in sync. So with that, I will turn it back over to Chris to close us out.
Well, maybe before we do that, we can tell folks what we want to buy.
Sorry about that. I'll turn it back over to Melody.
Latasha got a little fast on us, so yeah. So here's an example of some of the categories and commodities that we buy in UPS. So as Chris had mentioned earlier in her presentation, UPS operates a very large airline and a significantly very, very large fleet of ground transportation vehicles, like tractor trailers, straight trucks, package cars, that come to your house. And that also includes, in the alternative fuel vehicles and the electric vehicles, which are, coming on, as we speak. So if you think about all of those different aircraft and, vehicles, we buy parts for those vehicles and those aircraft. And we also purchase maintenance services. We do some of the maintenance on the ground vehicles ourselves, but we do outsource a lot of our maintenance, and especially in our aircraft area. And then we also buy fuel. We buy jet fuel, we buy ground fuel, both diesel and unleaded regular fuel. So there's, a lot of things that we buy to keep up our air fleet and also our ground transportation fleet. We also, in addition, a lot of people don't think about this, but you see all the brown trucks running around the US and all over the world, but also we buy transportation from other providers as well as third-party carriers. So we do buy space on their trucks. We typically like to buy from asset-based carriers. So that means you need to have your own power units and your own trailers. We use only 53-foot dry vans, and you have to meet, our minimum operational and insurance requirements. And you'll see on here, it says 50 plus power units. We do have some alternative opportunities for those carriers that are smaller. We have our own Coyote Logistics freight broker that we refer small carriers to all the time, because they utilize any size fleet, from a one-man, owner operator, all the way up to large fleets. We also started a couple of years ago our truckload consortium, which is a consortium that allows diverse carriers, that are small, to join and bid on opportunities with UPS as a group. So they kind of the leader kind of acts as a broker, but we've got over 200 carriers right now that are members of that consortium. So that, provides an opportunity for those smaller fleets to have an opportunity to do business with UPS as well. And then we also, thinking about all of our facilities, and then we're operating probably over 1,800 just in the US alone. So we have always a need for diverse contractors in our construction area. Whether that be, HVAC contractors or electrical contractors, anything that would be done in a building for a new build, as well as we're doing a lot of retrofitting in our current facilities. So, taking a look as you think about UPS, and as Latasha had mentioned, if you think about what we do, think about how what you have, the products or services you have that might align with what we are buying and what we're looking for. And then I'm going to let Latasha come back, and then she's going to talk about some other areas that we purchase.
Yeah, so Melody is transportation and direct services, right? And there's a whole nother portfolio of indirect categories of spend that we buy. So these aren't necessarily categories that are core to our business, but we do require them in order to operate our business, right? So some of those categories, and this is not an exhaustive list by any means on either side of ours, but we did want to give a bit of a kind of view into what the indirect categories needs are as well. So when you think about marketing services, we have a huge in-house marketing function, but there are some parts of that that we do look outside to support some of the in-house activities. So a couple of them are creative services. So we'll have different campaigns where we'll need creative services being done. Promotional materials, that sort of stuff. We will bring suppliers in to help with that. Competitive intelligence is a big one. Learning about the industry, learning about the market, helping us understand the future of our industry. Market research is a great one that we talked earlier about. Hootology, an NGLCC certified company that helped us bring tons of insight into our company, around diversity and the LGBT community and the awareness of supplier diversity overall, right? So we will bring a lot of different marketing type companies in to help support our in-house activities. Also on the real estate side, as Melody said, we've got, I want to say it's well over 1,200 facilities in the US, whether they're warehouse buildings or office space. But to support those leasing or purchasing activities, we're always looking for great diverse suppliers who are property managers, who are appraisers, who are the title and settlement offices for those transactions. So those are another, it's another avenue for us to bring in great diverse suppliers. Another one is in the CDL staffing space. So when you think about how UPS provides services to other companies, right? There's so much volume that oftentimes we need additional driver support to drive UPS assets, right? We're thinking about the transportation, like the actual trucks, the freight trucks. We'll need additional companies to bring in drivers to drive our assets to deliver, those truckload deliveries. So we're always looking for diverse suppliers in that space. It does seem to be a space that doesn't have a lot of diversity in it. So if anyone on the call is thinking about their next entrepreneurial activity, there's a huge market for companies that provide CDL drivers as a service. And so a lot of staffing companies will look at this and maybe think, oh, well, the insurances are too high, or they don't know about it. But it's a really big opportunity for companies that want to be in this space. But for us, it is on an assignment basis. So if we have a contract with a customer, it's based, it's kind of in tangent with that, that contract. It has to be your core competency and stuff like that. And we do have some requirements around insurances and driver eligibility, but it's a great space if anyone's thinking about expanding into another industry. And then a big one for us that I really get excited about is technology. So as Chris talked earlier, we're bringing in, drones, and we're bringing in, vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, right? We are really, really looking for inventors. We're looking for the next technology that's going to move our transportation, our logistics services forward. So, companies that build robots that have machine learning or autonomous technologies, we're really interested in learning about those companies, meeting with them, and seeing if they've got the new invention that's going to give us a competitive edge. So, again, technology is really exciting for us going forward as a company. And then even thinking about like all of the laptops and desktops that we purchase, right? There's a warranty on all of those, and we need suppliers who provide those post-warranty hardware services, right? And even, thinking about those pieces of equipment, we're looking for resellers who are not the big OEMs who make the products, right? That can bring additional value outside of just the product, right? Maybe the implementation or the inventorying of those items. So we're always looking for suppliers in these spaces, but this is, again, not an exhaustive list. If you have a question about whether or not it's a good fit, you should certainly reach out to us at diversity@ups.com, and we can see if there is a good fit going forward. So with that, I will this time turn it over to Chris.
This time I'll take it from you, Latasha.
Okay.
So thank you, Melody and Latasha. And just a reminder, I saw a question in Q&A. We'll get to one or two more of those here in a moment. But you can go to our website at ups.com, Supplier Diversity. You'll see a link there on what we buy, and there is even a much more exhaustive list of the types of things that UPS buys, and you can get a little more information that way. But before we get directly into the Q&As and think about wrapping up today, there are 3 action items that I wanted to sort of hit hard today. And one is, if you are a certified LGBT-owned business that was impacted by the pandemic, be sure to apply for the Proudly Unstoppable grant. You can contact corporate relations at nglcc.org for details. The deadline is May 17th, so no time to lose in getting that process going. Even more exciting, I think, is that you just heard a little bit about what we buy. So if you sell something we buy, then go to ups.com/supplier diversity and register in our portal. If you sell something that we buy that we just listed on one of those slides, it means we're particularly interested in hearing from you now. So in addition to the portal, email us. This goes right to Kim on our team. We're a small little 7-person team. So if you email that, it doesn't go into an empty space. Kim is checking that every week, and we'll see it. So email diversity@ups.com if you're in one of those marketing areas or transportation areas or airline parts or auto parts or those areas that Melody and Latasha highlighted. It means we particularly want to hear from you right now as well. And of course, if you're not certified yet, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to get certified. nglcc.org/get-certified will get you the instructions and the next steps you need. So let me thank you for your time. And before I turn it back over to the NGLCC, I'm just going to check. I got to pull up the chat and the questions here to see if there's a couple of questions maybe we haven't answered online just yet. And we do have a question. Latasha, I'm going to ask for your help on this one. The question from Stetson is, does risk and compliance fit into either supplier diversity categories?
I would say that it just depends on what kind of activity within risk and compliance. So we do have a risk management department within UPS. And, you know, I'm sure that they have needs for outside suppliers occasionally as well. So I would just say if there's anyone on the call who is unsure about whether or not your company is a good fit for what UPS is looking for, reach out to us at the diversity@ups.com email address, and we can take a look at your capabilities and find out if there is a good match.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you. We got another question. Someone who is recognized through the SBA size standards as a small business. They're wondering, does UPS recognize SBA certifications beyond LGBT? So things like HubZone, 8A, small disadvantaged suppliers. Yes, at UPS we track all of those. We are a contractor of the federal government, which means everything that the federal government tracks, we track as well. So all those small business categories, as well as the additional diversity categories like LGBT owned businesses. So we track them all, and we would love to hear from folks that have certifications or operate in spaces in any of those areas. And then we have a question here from Emma. I'm going to stop sharing here. From Emma that says she was certified as a WBE Edge LGBTBE. She owns a photography business. That's fantastic. 8 years. Recently certified, but hasn't been able to participate in any of the activities. Don't worry, Emma, that shouldn't stop you from applying for the grant. We want to impact businesses that were impacted by the pandemic. So you've gotten your certification. Go ahead and communicate with us through the grant application process through the NGLCC so they can take a look at that. But certainly we'd love to hear. And congratulations on all your certifications. You are a part of some powerful networks. And you know what I didn't mention before that I'll mention now is, you know, in the old days, the old pre-pandemic days, participating in the Supplier Diversity Network also often meant like getting on a plane and traveling to a conference for 3 or 4 days. And it was a little bit of a barrier to entry for some people because it was a long time to spend away from your business. And then you might go spend 3 days and walk away without a contract. You know, those conferences, those networkings will come back post-pandemic in some form. I'm sure they will. But we have learned that there is a great degree of matchmaking and business conversations we can have over technologies like Zoom. So I don't think that supplier diversity is going to be as expensive or as daunting to engage in from a supplier perspective or even a corporation perspective as it used to be. I think it's going to make it more approachable to connect businesses with buyers and stakeholders directly. So anyway, thank you so much for your time today. Don't forget your action items, get certified, apply for the grant if you are, and certainly connect with us at ups.com/supplier diversity. I'm going to turn the time back over to Lauren. Thank you so much. We appreciate joining you and excited about our continued partnership.
Well, Chris, thank you so much. And thank you to the rest of the UPS team. We really appreciate you all, the work that you do and taking time out of your day to come and give this webinar for our network. And thank you to everyone who joined us for today's webinar. If you have any questions about the grant, please reach out to our team at corporaterelations@nglcc.org. And we do highly encourage you all to apply. The link is in the chat. So please apply for that grant if you haven't done so already. Additionally, we would love to have you all join us at some of our upcoming programming. We have Sip and Pitch next Friday, the 21st. So highly encourage you to join. That's always a great program. And we have our Communities of Color Initiative AAPI Heritage Month program at the end of the month on the 26th. Registration for all of those events can be found on the events page on our website. And again, we highly encourage you to attend. Thank you again to UPS. Thank you to Team NGLCC. And thank you to all of you for joining. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and week.